Neil Berger. I'm a partner at Carrington Coleman, Sloman, and Blumenthal. We got involved through the American Bar Association's Capital Defense Project, death penalty project, where they try to recruit civil litigators to take on death penalty cases in post-conviction. I met with Manuel on death row in January of 2009, and I talked to him for about 6 hours on death row. I was the first one from our firm to talk to him, and I left there, and it was sometime in the middle, and I remember thinking, wait a second, is this guy actually innocent? Because he was telling me certain things that went on in the trial and in the case, and it sounded very plausible. It sounded very reasonable what he was telling me. I remember leaving there and calling Lyndon actually immediately after as I'm driving home, being like, you're not going to believe this, but we might have an innocent client here. From the very beginning, and the night that the child was injured, and the police show up and the ambulances show up, they took our client Manuel and his live-in girlfriend to the police station, and immediately someone there had decided that our client did something. They interrogated Manuel, not on videotape, and wrote a long statement in English, which he doesn't. First of all, he doesn't read and write at all. And he definitely doesn't read and write in English. And then they videotaped an interrogation of the girlfriend where the entire time is, tell us what Manuel did. And when she wouldn't say anything, they would say, why are you protecting him? Did he, and they had a doll, and they were, did he slam the child? Did he hit the child? Why are you protecting him? Tell us what he did. And that was an hour-long interrogation of her, just trying to get her to explain that Manuel did something violently to the child. The momentum, I guess, continued with that, in that eventually they charged both of them with capital murder, but they got a deal with her to testify against Manuel, and she got 10 years. She served 6 and was out. It frustrated us to no end that no matter what we presented, they just didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to consider it. And I honestly believed that they knew that they had messed up, that something had happened. And then you would hope that when it gets to the prosecutor's office, that they look at it freshly and make their own determination and look at what the evidence says and those, what the circumstances are. But it just continued on, and it continued. And then once there's a conviction, trying to reverse that is, then there's just the inertia of a conviction, and the DA thinks, look, I've already got a jury to say guilty, and I got a death penalty. Like, I'm not, no matter what we presented to them to show that it was physically impossible for him to have done this, they just didn't want to believe it. We elect our DAs. That might be part of it. It's not politically advantageous to say that someone they convicted of capital murder and spent a ton of money convicting and getting a death sentence and fighting on appeal, to then say, we got this wrong. Our elections tend to be soundbite elections now, and so it'd be very easy for an opponent to say he let a convicted capital murderer go free, or he wasted a ton of money prosecuting an innocent man of capital murder. And so I think it takes a lot of courage for when a DA actually does recognize that they've done that something has gone wrong in a prosecution, to actually admit it and let an innocent person free. I think, sadly, it takes a lot of courage. It shouldn't. One simple thing to do, I think, is to videotape all interrogations. Because I think his interrogation if they had videotaped it, and he had a statement that I know he didn't say, I know he didn't read, and he just signed it because he wanted to go. He thought he'd go home if he just, because he was talking to him, he was telling the truth to the officer. The officer said, "I've written up what you've said. Sign this." He didn't say what was in that statement. And so if they had videotaped the entire interrogation, I think it would have helped us greatly. I think it would have helped him greatly. And they videotaped her interrogation, mind you. So they had a camera, but they just didn't use it on the person they thought was guilty. Personally, I'm against the death penalty to begin with, and I just want to make sure that the state, if they are going to execute someone needs to counter their push and put them to their burden.